So my name is Daryl McGraw. I am one of the members of the Great Eight. You probably see our pictures hanging in the lobby. And I spent 10 years of my life in and out of the correctional system on the installment plan. That means I kept going in and out, making sure the food was still gross, and it was. And here I am today, and I brought with me some friends.
Hi, my name is Annette Diaz, and I did about 3 to 5 years in the women's prison in Connecticut in Great Old Niantic. My longest bid there was 18 months. And did my time served and came out to the community. So we're here at Newgate Prison, I guess to see the difference, right? Or to see some of the similarities.
My name is Daeed Muhammad McKnight. I did 17 and a half years in prison, and mostly in Summers Penitentiary, which is now Osborne now.
Good morning, how are you? Afternoon.
Yes.
My name is Taj Amir Abdul Rahman, formerly incarcerated. Started out my bid and my sentence in Summers, Connecticut. Did 24 years between Connecticut and New York, but Connecticut 23 years.
Lugo, Obi the barber also, I go by that name. I became a barber in prison. I did off and on, I did around 15 years. Last incarceration was 10 years. Just got out 3 years ago.
My name is Tracy, and I'm formerly incarcerated. I served 23 years in prison.
What was the first thought of going down there into the copper mine? What was that? What did that feel like? Like, can you imagine? So just giving some background is that it was basically going down in a hole, which is a former copper mine, which was, for the record, it was one of the first state prisons.
My first thought was this was extremely inhumane. Like, I can't believe that another person, another human being would actually, expect another human being to stay in those type of conditions or those type of quarters, regardless of decades of time, history and anything. It was just extremely inhumane, extremely dark, cold, not connected to any type of earth, any type of outside, besides whatever they would take them. But just to be thrown in a little can, it reminded me of like sardines, just thrown in somewhere, not working towards any type of rehabilitation.
My first thoughts were like the laws. I understood that it was the beginning of the country, and I was like, there was be no laws. So if now, today, being in prison can be not only damaging mentally, but it could be so dangerous for some people. I could imagine, my first thought looking around, I knew there was no type of law to protect nobody.
Right. So you meant law like down there, like it was a lawless place, like no rules, no nothing. It was kind
There
of...
must be no type of rules. It was just house people on top of each other, and whatever happens the next morning, we get rid of who died, put some more on top.
Right.
That's the feelings I got. That's how it felt so cold like that. That was the mentality of whoever was in charge. There was no emotions towards humankind there.
I, as somebody that served 7 years in solitary confinement, was, if this is jail, where the freak was solitary? Like, what?
Right.
So I was like, take me to where their solitary was. So they would, as you go along the tour, solitary wasn't much different than regular, and like the walls was dripping, and it was like I couldn't imagine, like. And as I was in real life, when I was in solitary from 2001 to 2007, I thought that I had the worst fate on earth when we had our event there, because when I had my organization Once Incarcerated with Women Against Mass Incarceration, when we did our event for the National Council, we had an event there and I couldn't go back down. The first time we went there, I did go down, and I don't know, you know, like it was very traumatizing for me, because it's definitely, imagine those people that had to be there. It makes me take myself out of my own experience, and it makes me not feel as bad for myself as I, you know, in my own experience. And it made me say, like, damn, imagine if I was those people sleeping on that cold cement, not even cement, cave or whatever the hell it was, and just with the wet floors, and the guards didn't even stay in there. So imagine no one to ever break up your fights, you know?
Tajimir, what was your first impression?
I was looking at it from the framework of the era that they were in at that time, the 1700s. It was the 1700s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, initially it started in that era.
Right. So the first thing came to my mind is that when they brought us to the chute, to the vent where you go down the shaft, and that to know that this is the entrance and the exit to this place, not the stairway that we went down. That gives it a different perspective altogether to walk in this tourist-like stairwell.
And at that point, like we were saying earlier, movement is the most important thing. We trying to get anything. I don't care if you give me a cheeseburger, get me out myself.
Yeah,
you know, it was more about being able to do this than quantify some money, because the reality was that there was no money to be made.
Right. You know, with prison labor and employment in prison, you're really talking about running the prison, having a prison function. There's some parts of the daily functioning of the prison that guards don't do and that the civilian staff won't do. You have the mechanics and the electrical, the plumbing, these types of things. They'll have civilians come in and make sure that runs. But the other little small things that keep the prison running, they need inmates to do this, and they pay them to do those things, right? Then you have other areas, other prisons where they'll have skills like the optical shop, right? They'll have people that under the guise of training you to know how to prepare glasses and make dental plates and stuff. Well, what it is to pay a civilian to do that is a lot of money. You know, they can pay me 75 cents a day to do it. I'll learn a skill, go home with the skill, hopefully, and better myself.
But you won't be able to use the skill because you have a criminal record.
But you won't be able to use the skill because when you're finished being incarcerated, you finish your incarceration punishment, the punishment extends itself over into society, where you're pillared now for being an ex-offender.
The reality is, man, you don't have your freedom. And that's the reality. No matter what the conditions are, you don't have your freedom. And it made me think about, you know, being a young man when I first went to the penitentiary and I was facing a lot of time. And I was in the county jail. And I don't know if it took the weed to wear off because I was young, stupid, wild. And I think like on the 6th day that I was in there, the reality hit me, man. I couldn't get out that tight cell in North Avenue in Bridgeport. Like I had never thought about it before, but it just hit me like on the 6th day, like, my man, you in here and you can't get out this room until an external force, somebody else lets you out. You don't have your freedom right now. And see, them amenities and them comfortabilities, they distract you from the reality of where you are. I'm not saying prison should be a dungeon like that. I'm just saying that a lot of times, man, we think something was worse when in fact it's all the same. People that never been to prison, your family, as much as they love you, they be there for you. They say they understand, but nobody understands the reality of not having your freedom until you don't have it.
The past is what it was. And we saw how the leaps and bounds from Newgate, I don't know if Cheshire or Summers, which one was first, but we saw how they evolved as far as the social aspects of it, on the treatment, the care, in-house care, the release factors, how they the technology going into the systems itself, how it's become a industrial complex. In the future of prison incarceration has to deal with individuals like ourselves gaining access to the facilities and changing the hearts and minds and the perception of reality of the people, so that when they do come out, those of us who have become a success outward on the outside work with politicians and other lawmakers to try and change the way they're received back into the society and open up some of the avenues to enfranchise themselves and to be able to have economic opportunity and inclusion in what's going on. You find that some of the best and most loyal employees and the most serious individuals are people who are coming out of incarceration because they understand the true value of freedom.
So I think it's a hell of a lot more cost effective to help people, evolve. I think of like all the stuff I went through that led me to prison, right? The untreatedness, the untreated mental health, the untreated addiction. I remember seeing, I think I was like 6 or 7 years old, the first time someone got shot, and me and my sisters were playing in the backyard talking about, have your parents call 911? There was, you had asked if there was any therapy. I was like, yeah, right. Again, and this is just stuff that we grew up in, not by choice. And I don't think we should be consequenced for that. I think that we should have a choice of some evidence-based options. You know what I mean? So what does that look like, right? We spend all this money on research. Why don't we put the money where our mouth is, right? And try to actually invest in human beings.
I just want to ask or tell everyone that goes to the Newgate prison to help me have this conversation, because this is one of the forgotten conversations. I understand that we've been too busy trying to build a country and we haven't had time to talk about real corrections and treatment, but it's about time. And I think that, in life, there's things that I need to do, but if I don't do them, they become things that I must do. And this is the things that we must do. We need to converse and we need to talk about the forgotten things, and incarceration, mass incarceration, and all of these things. We just gotta talk about it and come up with a better solution. Because there's a saying that said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But everybody agrees that it's broken. So we must fix it.
So I don't know if everybody agrees, because a lot of people don't care. And so I think what we need to do is get everybody to care. And I think the way that we get everybody to care is to get everybody to recognize that it could be them. We also need to, one of the things that I do is I always say to people that you all commit crimes too. You just don't get caught. And I have never had a room, whether it's a room full of senators, a room full of state representatives, a room full of DOC staff or whatever, any one of them has never come to me and said, excuse me, you're wrong. I haven't committed a crime, because they know they have. It could be anybody. A lot of people, especially a lot of white people, don't think that it affects them because they think it's a black and brown problem, right? You have to get people to care in order to change laws. You have to get people to understand that it could happen to their mother, father, sister, to them.
One thing I'll say in closing is this honor to be here having this discussion with everyone here. Appreciate the work that everybody's doing in the individual capacity, whatever organization you work for, to help people successfully reintegrate back in society. And then what I'm going to say, past, present, and future, in solution-wise, is something that you guys probably going to laugh at, but there was a guy, his name was Aesop. I don't know if you remember Aesop's fables. And actually Aesop was an African from Ethiopia living in Greece. But one of the fables that he had made was very deep, and it was about getting people to comply. Because it seems like that's what prison operates under, the modus operandi of trying to get people to comply. This fable that he had was about the sun and the wind. They had a contest. A gentleman was walking by with a coat on, and the wind was arguing with the sun that I'm stronger than you. And he said, okay, let's have a contest. They see the guy walking by. So the sun told the wind, well, you go first. And the wind got real mad. He blew on the guy, made it real cold. He said, I bet you I can make him take his coat off before you. He blew on him and the guy blew over, but he held his coat on, he didn't take it up. And then when it was the sun's turn, the sun said, okay, let me try. And all the sun did was smile on him, and it got real warm, and the guy took his coat off. So whoever's watching this video and they didn't get that, then they don't get it. But that's all I'm gonna say.